Hello again everyone. Just a quick update on what's happening with my new YouTube career, if you could call it that. What's happened is my compressor died the other day, a new one's on the way, and that's why there's no video this week. On my part, I have this idea in my mind that I'll try and do 1/72 or 1/48 at least semi-regularly, weekly or fortnightly, just depending on how I go with work and other commitments, and sometimes just, to be honest, if I'm in the mood and how long the model takes and all of that. And then what I was also thinking, because I do have other projects going on in the background, maybe monthly or something, where I'll do one of the bigger planes, a video on that, 1/32. And that also did get me thinking that I might have a quick talk about scales. So the good news is compressor's on the way. I've ordered a Sparmax 610H, I think it is. I have to admit, the compressor I was using, for a variety of reasons, it was one of the cheap ones, no brand, whatever, the silver ones, they're everywhere worldwide, I think. That it did a good enough job, but yeah, obviously some of those things just don't last. Don't think they're designed to. So that's what's happening there. Currently, I think I've got a 109 that's partially built when the compressor died. There's a 1/32 Corsair that I'm still working on. So that's what partly got me thinking about how to structure these videos with my whole YouTube thing. And as a quick flow on from that, it also did get me thinking, just a quick talk about scales, and especially for anyone new to modeling. It's probably my opinions as much as anything, and you'll see tons of arguments all around. But I do love the 1/32. Here's one of my favorites. It's a J2M2. And you can see, and this is probably a good example, ignore the dust, but of the difference of masking out the roundels in this case compared to using decals. Not that I don't use decals, it's always depends on what I'm doing and so on. And you can see here, as this is a couple years old, let me try and get in here. You can see where the clear film on that decal is coming through. It's easy enough to fix up, and the proper way to do it is to cut as much of that out while you're doing it. While I've got these down, I probably will give them a clean up. That's the only problem where they do anything on display like that, just naturally accumulates dust. In the background, there's another 1/32. This is a MiG-3. Again, no decals, well, things like the Russian lettering, or I guess it is, this is Soviet, but definitely the stars, Soviet stars, they were used masking with cray cut machine, and it is worth the extra effort if you're in the mood. Things like the roundels, especially on the Japanese planes, I think you just need, well, I just use a circle cutter. I think they're $10, $20. On the actual scales themselves, the 1/32 planes can get very big, but there is something really cool about them. It's almost a bit hard to just give the impact or an impression of the impact. But they are fairly chunky planes. In this case, the interesting thing, or dilemma I get, well, not dilemma, I don't know what the word is. Sometimes the 1/32 I actually find easier. I do think they're just super cool, but you do have more room to work with. Obviously they take longer. There's normally a lot more detail, especially things like the engine, cockpit. Just naturally you get a lot more detail. That also makes it more forgiving. Things you can You just basically have a lot more room to work. And that's to add that extra detail. Just in comparison, here's 1/72nd on the wing of that J2M2. This is the video I did, I think second from last, a few weeks back. So there, that gives you a really good indication of the difference in the scales. What is interesting, and this is where I'm just going to get into opinion, and everyone has, yeah, there's a saying about opinions, everyone has one. From my point of view, I used to do a lot of 148, which to me is in between. I don't have a standard 148 around at the moment. If you give me, I'll show you a Skyraider in 148, which is probably not the best example. But in 148, even the jets and modern planes can get big. What I personally found, and I'll probably come back to that in a second, what I personally found, 148 to me always seems just a little bit compromise either way. 1/72nd, I can generally more focus on the externals. I don't get bogged down in cockpits and details. I can model the plane as such. 1/32nd, I can get into super detail. And I think you can get into a little bit more of at least the engineering of what's really going on. 148 to me, and I will do them, and I do plenty of 148 in that sense, but it's almost a compromise. You get enough detail in the cockpit and enough room to work with to make it worthwhile, but you're never going to get the same sort of detail as say 1/32nd or even 1/24th. So I think that's just something to keep in mind, I suppose. It depends where you're going. So over time, I've tended to either do 1/72nd or 1/32nd. Having said that, I think my jets, whoops, and I've already broken a bit here. Folding wings on Navy planes are always messy. I don't think I've ever done one that I'm entirely happy with. Where I do a lot of 148 is jets. Obviously, like I said, modern planes tend to be bigger. 1/32nd jets are huge. You can be like 2 feet, 60 centimeters long, and so on. Obviously, that creates a lot of storage space. And one thing also to keep one thing also to keep in mind is spraying, spray booths, all that type of stuff. You are using significant amounts more paint. So once again, ignore the dust and so on. I'll give these a clean while they're down here. So you can see here in the cockpit of the Intruder, probably dusty as well. 148, you got plenty of room to work with, but in my mind, there's always that sort of, it's neither one nor the other, but definitely for jets, there is practical reasons. So it's just, I thought that might be useful for those that haven't necessarily got a lot of experience and seen just the sheer difference in scale. So in reality, yeah, just the volume of paint you can use, and obviously fumes and things goes up a lot. And like I say, even some of this is a 148 Skyraider. You can sort of start to see that if we get to 1/32nd in a Skyraider, yeah, it's going to take up a lot of space. So just beware of that. But again, super cool. From my point of view, I do love the 1/32nd. So that's what I'm thinking. That's where I'm at. I won't keep this too long. Hopefully it's not too boring as well, but it does give at least an idea of what's out there, what you can do. And as usual, any questions, comments, yeah, if I know it, I'll answer it. If I don't know it, I'll probably ask you. So have a good day wherever you are. and stay safe, have fun, and hopefully all goes well. If Compressor arrives tomorrow, I'll be back into it, but definitely next week there'll be some more plane videos coming. Thanks again.